Hey guys, how you doing? It's me, Amin again. So let's take a look at the market, guys. Today what I want to do is take a look at some of the altcoins. I've done a few Bitcoin updates and I've been getting a few requests to look at some of the alternative coins. So that's what I'm going to do today. I haven't looked at any of them, haven't kind of done any pre-analysis or anything like that. So this is straight off the bat, guys. Okay, so it might be quite a long video. So for those of you want a quick short update, this probably isn't going to be the one, right? So first of all, let's take a look at the movers and shakers. What's been happening in terms of which ones have been going up the most? Ethereum Classic has had a nice move in the last 24 hours, 25% up. We're back at the $15 range. You can see on the coin market cap. So out the top 100, this is the one that's really been moving up nicely. Verge, NEM, Komodo, Zcoin, VeChain, ADX is starting to move. I mean, these are kind of like the only one that's had a real, seems to have had a real big push over the last couple of days is Ethereum Classic. So it's pretty interesting. If we see the opposite ends of the spectrum, yeah, MCAP, Byte Ball Bytes, yeah, so fair enough. Okay, so which coin should we look at? First of all, let's take a look at Ethereum. As we can see here, Ethereum's pretty stagnant today. It's still in and around the $300 mark, but let's take a look at the chart and look at some of the technicals. First of all, against Bitcoin, these lines here are from older analyses, yeah, I don't know how to do the plural of analysis. Anyway, so what we can see here against Bitcoin, guys, this is really, I mean, pretty much since June, right? Since I would say definitely since the end of June, it's just been continuously underperforming Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been the dominant coin, been the one that you'd rather want to be in terms of making profits against Ethereum. So yeah, I mean, we're still very much in this downtrend. If we take a look at the 1-day chart, see how much further we can go. I mean, this zone here, this bottom here, that correlates with these tops here. I wouldn't really want to see this get any further down from here. I mean, I guess against Bitcoin, I could expect this to come down further, down to this zone here, around about the 3,500 mark. So just to make it a square number here, I'll just probably move this up slightly towards the 3,500 mark, which correlate with these bottoms here. So that's against Bitcoin, guys, and we know, if Bitcoin has like any slight push up, then this could easily go back down to this line here, which is the 3,500 mark, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that Ethereum's losing value against the dollar, because as we can see here, against the dollar, that same 1-day chart, guys, we've just been kind of zigzagging in this zone here, this $300 zone here, for a long time, since like September basically, right? So like a month and a half, 2 months or so, we've been just in this zone here, guys, right? So Ethereum, guys, against the dollar, we're just kind of going sideways. We're not losing value, we're not gaining value, but we're just consolidating here, right? But someone made this point the other day, and I tend to agree with it. I've always agreed with this, is that you would rather be trading against Bitcoin and picking the coins that are performing well against Bitcoin, right? Because if you're doing well against the dollar, but you're doing bad against Bitcoin, then ultimately you could be making more money in Bitcoin, right? So the whole point of buying altcoins is, I mean, for me anyway, the whole point of buying altcoins is so that you can make more money than what you would have made just hodling Bitcoin, right? And for most people, I'd say 80-90% of people in the last 5 months or so, since June, I'd say, most people that have been trading altcoins have actually been doing worse than what they would have been doing if they had just held on to their Bitcoin. And that's a fact, guys, right? So the whole purpose of trading altcoins has not really worked out for most people, right? You know, it would have been easier just to kind of hold that Bitcoin, right, and watch your money, you know, 2x, 3x, or whatever, right? So in terms of structure against the dollar, I mean, we're just kind of in this nice ascending. It's almost like a giant ascending triangle we're in right here, you know. I mean, you could, I guess, point this out as this, you know, a pennant, but you know, or you could make it into an ascending triangle. But either way, which way you look at it, I guess at some point, you know, if we hold this line here, I mean, if you look at it this way, we've been hovering around the $300 mark here on Ethereum for around about 52 days, right? But we're at the 300, in and around the $300 mark now, and we're at this baseline here, this support line right here, right? So or this you know, trend line, support trend line right here. So that says to me, if we just maintain this trend line here, you know, there's no law saying that it has to maintain the trend line. It can break it and just fall below. But if we maintain this trend line here, then at some point, if we just follow this trend line along, we have to start averaging above 300, 320, 340, right? Because it's just obviously the you know, the trend is going up in the long term, right? So that'll be interesting to see. Just in terms of time frames, let's have a look. I mean, we could say within the next 20 days or so, we should really have that. You know, we should be definitely, you know, well, hopefully be trending above the 320, 330 dollar range there, which should be interesting. Alternatively, you know, we could just break this trend, you know, just depending on how the market goes. But like I said, this is against the dollar, against Bitcoin. It's clearly on the decline, right? Clearly on the decline. This might be a good zone to start picking up Ethereum around about the 0.035 BTC range. You might want to wait, because if it does drop below this zone here, then we could be coming back down to this zone here, which is the this zone right here is the 0.022 BTC range. All right, so that's Ethereum. I would say hold off for now and just give it some time. But in the meantime, let's have a look at Ethereum Classic, because that's been making moves, right? So this is against Bitcoin, guys. So first of all, let's take a look at the line chart, guys. What I want to do with the line chart is just use this to kind of draw some lines here. Okay, so I'm gonna go from this one here. All right, and you can see, okay, so it broke trend there, it broke trend there. Okay, so what we can see here on the line chart is, if I take this trend from here, this more recent trend right here, we can see it's just broken that more recent trend here. This trend here, we've just kind of broken this short-term downward resistance line. The long-term downward resistance line we had broke before. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. So that's, you know, it's broken this short-term downward resistance line, and it's on the up. It's on the up. It's getting a lot of volume coming here. You can see these green bars here, these 4-hour green bars here. It's getting some volume coming in. If we look at the one day chart, I'll zoom in a bit on the one-day chart. Yeah, we're picking up volume here. I mean, today isn't over, it's just started really, and you know, we've almost matched yesterday's bull volume, so that's good. I mean, if we clear this area here, this on the one-day chart, if we clear this zone here, then that's a lot of volume coming in. In terms of sell zones, I would actually be looking closely at this zone here, right here. All right, so this zone right here, I would probably be unloading, because I can clearly see here, this is the area that I would probably be letting go at these tops here, these tops here, just to get in early, because these tops here, this top here correlates with this bottom here. So my sell target here for Ethereum Classic, I would probably be letting go at 0.0028. Okay, so that's where I'd be letting go of Ethereum Classic. On a side note, if we take the fib retracement tool and see where we could be taking profit here on the bounce, then yeah, okay, so it pretty much correlates. I mean, you know, on the bounce where we're looking at yeah, just below the 50% range from this move here, just below the 50% range here. Okay, what I want to look at actually with Ethereum Classic is, if we take these lines off here, take everything off, I like to look at things on the log chart sometimes, because it makes a huge amount of difference on the log charts. If you're taking in the percentages properly, then we can see, okay, so on the log chart we can see the main downward resistance line, that the long-term downward resistance line here has not even met. We saw on the other chart that the long-term downward resistance line had been broken several times, like whichever way you look at it. But on the log chart here, we can see it hasn't even approached it yet. I mean, it hasn't even come close to it yet. So we're still waiting for the long-term downward resistance to be broken on the log chart, right? So that's something to bear in mind, guys. And like I said, the sell targets would still remain the same. I would really be looking at these tops here, this top here, and these bottoms here as my sell zone right here. And that's if it actually breaks through this line here. It breaks, you know, because we could, sorry guys, this is my thing, I mean, we could actually, you know, I would probably actually sell part of my position also here at this, you see these three tops here, right here. Okay, so what I would do if I were in Ethereum Classic is be getting rid of 50% of my position here at 0.033, and then holding some of it, because I mean, end of the day, you know, if we measure this move from here, and take the fib points, we could pretty much say that, you know, it's pretty much measuring up with this zone here, this target that I put here before is 0.0027, right? So that's the on the log chart, it's the 0.382% range, right? So but here the first target is purely because of the downward resistance line on the log chart. So either way is profit, right? I mean, whichever way you measure it, you know, if we take percentage wise from here to there, it's still like 34%, you know, 35% profit, right? But yeah, I mean, would I be buying Ethereum Classic right now? Probably not, guys, because if we look at the, yeah, let's look at the 6-hour chart. We can pretty much see that we're having like 1, 2, 3, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're kind of on the 5th wave up now. So this big wave here is like the 5th wave up, and I'm expecting this to start selling off from here as well. This zone here, I'm expecting it to sell off, maybe have a pump up and sell off from here, come back down before we head back up as well. So I would wait for it to actually start selling off now, because as you can see, well, as I can see just now, it's these indicators, they're starting to get towards the overbought zone. You know, once this 12-hour gets overbought, then, you know, if this 12-hour RSI gets over 70, then, you know, that's going to be really overbought for me. You can see the six hours coming up to 70 right now, but that's fine for the 6 hour. But on the longer term time frames, you know, if we start looking at, you know, the 12-hour up at the 70 levels, then, you know, we really, you know, should kind of think twice about entering a position when a coin is kind of that much overbought. All right, so cool. Let's look at some other coins. Ripple, Bitcoin Cash. Let's have a look at Bitcoin Cash, because it's one that's been moving up considerably. Bitcoin Cash against the dollar. So yeah, okay, so we can see straight off the bat it's kind of consolidating here for a bit, but the nice thing is that it's holding this this 30-day EMA line really nicely. You can see this green line here. It's really just maintaining this EMA line, and this isn't a bad thing. I mean, if it just maintains this and allows these oscillators to reset, then that's actually a really good sign, because what we're doing here is we're consolidating high, and we're letting these oscillators reset. Like this RSI here, as you can see, is above 70. If this comes down a bit, back down to around this, between the 60-65 range, this one day RSI is still very high, as you can see. But, you know, we can, if we can hold this 30-day EMA line here and let these oscillators reset, then it might be a good time to enter Bitcoin Cash as well, because I mean, we could easily be looking at least a target of this line here, this initial top here, which is 1400. We could be looking at, you know, 2000, 1400 to 2000 or something like that if we pass these tops. So you know, it's kind of wait and see. Definitely not a time to be entering right now. We've had these big pumps. The one-day RSI is extremely overbought, so I would give it some time to you know, reset and regather some strength. And let's just have a look if there's any sort of divergence here. No, not that I can see. Yeah, I would wait for a while, but you know, it's looking really positive for Bitcoin Cash still. You know, it's definitely showing bullish signs, or has been showing bullish signs. Just need to let it, you know, if you're not in it, then I would wait for the ultimate retracement. Let me see on the one-day chart where I would buy. Probably, yeah, I'll probably be looking at this zone right here, the 61.8 zone right here, which is around anything below 500. I would buy it. I would buy Bitcoin Cash anything below 500 right now. So so yeah, that's where I am with Bitcoin Cash. I'm not in it. Well, I've got a little position in it myself from before. It's not a huge amount of money, but I've got a small position in it. Bitcoin Cash versus BTC. Well, yeah, recently it's been outperforming BTC as well, right? So, you know, it's definitely one that you know, you should be looking at really, because like I say, you know, Bitcoin has been going up. If Bitcoin Cash is performing well against Bitcoin, then, you know, you're making a lot more money than, you know, you would otherwise be making. But like I said, this is a very bullish bullish candle here, bullish hammer. But then we've got to kind of wait to see the outcome of that. We need some sort of confirmation. Personally, I think Yeah, so the Bitcoin Cash RSI on the dollar, it's a lot more overbought. Here, this RSI is a lot more overbought than it is on Bitcoin, which is interesting, right? So, but the stochastic RSI, you know, it's starting to point down. If you see the stochastic RSI here on the 1-day chart, it's starting to point down. Let's see the 3-day chart is pointing up. Yeah, so I mean, we could really wait for a small reset on the 1-day chart, maybe give it like 3 or 4 days or what have you. Keep an eye on Bitcoin Cash though, because I do feel once the RSI is reset and you know, we regather some strength, we're definitely starting to pick up some volume. There is some fundamental news on Bitcoin Cash as well. I think they're having an upgrade on the something to do with the difficulty levels of you know, the mining difficulty levels or what have you. But basically there's a big kind of network upgrade going on, and it's looking really positive. Basically they're carrying out the work that they promised they were going to. So yeah, it's looking good. So oh, and by the way, this could be one of those things, personally I think it could be one of those things where you'd want to probably sell your position. I mean, me personally, I'd be looking very, very close to the day when the actual upgrade takes place. So I can't remember exactly what day. I think it's like the 12th or something of November. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember exactly the day. But I would basically be looking to exit some of my positions just before then, right? Because that's just me personally. I've noticed more times than not, after the event has occurred, then you know, the coin starts dropping again, right? So that's just something to bear in mind. What other coins? Ripple. Let's take a look at XRP. Let's take a look at XRP against USD. All right, so this again, guys, this is obviously, this chart looks funny to most people, but you've got to remember, guys, I'm looking at the log chart here, okay, the 1-day log chart. So that's why it looks like this. So as you can see here, we had a nice kind of Elliott wave up here, 1, 2, 3 up here, and since then we've had a nice kind of correction, but we've just been consolidating in and around this zone, guys. You know, we're at the 20 cents zone here, and you know, a lot of people were kind of expecting Ripple to break all-time highs again, you know, when they start popping up here. I wasn't so convinced, because as you can see in coin market cap, you know, it's already number 4. You know, at that time, Bitcoin's market cap at that time was like 50 billion or something, maybe like 45 billion or something like that. And yeah, I just couldn't see it like overtaking Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum in market cap and becoming number 2. That was just me personally. I could not see it like coming so close to Bitcoin as well in terms of actual overall market cap, and that turned out to be the case, because it's pretty much reverted back to the 7 to just like sub 8 billion market cap range, right? And it's yeah, it's just kind of being stable. Yeah, let's take it off the log chart and bring it onto the normal chart here. There we go. So yeah, so we're basically just we're just, you know, at the moment stable with Ripple. Nothing really to you know, write home about. There's no real big volume coming in, especially on the USD chart here. We're not really breaking any kind of downward resistance or anything, but we are just consolidating in this zone, and we could be, you know, over the next few days or weeks, you know, just kind of slowly starting to make like higher lows and lower highs, and just kind of getting tighter and tighter. So we could, you know, let me just draw it here. So if we just start becoming like tighter, and then boom, we could do something like that, right? As we get tighter and tighter and start to pop out like that, right? No, I don't want you anymore. Let's go back to there, and let's take a look at Ripple against Bitcoin. So like I said, guys, Ripple, no real action right now. Wouldn't be buying right now against Bitcoin. We're really at the last breakout zone here. We're pretty much, I mean, the altcoins have come down so much against Bitcoin, guys. I mean, we really have had a market correction, like a big contraction. I mean, let's take a look at something, guys. I just want to show you guys something real quick. Where is it? This one here. All right, so this obviously, you know, everyone has seen this. You know, it's not new. It's you know, it's the famous you know, psychology of a market cycle picture that pretty much, you know, if you haven't seen it, you know, I hope this is helpful, but I'm 90% sure that most of you have seen this, right? So it just kind of gives you the a quick overview of the emotions behind a market cycle. You know, we start off with disbelief. You know, are people that have been burnt from the last market cycle, they don't really believe that the market's going anywhere, right? So yeah, and then as the market starts to climb up, we start getting hope, and then it consolidates for a while, and then it starts to pop up, and we get, you know, optimistic. You know, this is really real. You know, this rally is real, right? So it's happening, you know, and then we start to get more belief, the thrill, and then right at the top we get the whole euphoria phase where, you know, everyone thinks, oh, we're gonna get rich, you know, this is, you know, where we're all gonna become millionaires, right? It's kind of where Bitcoin is at the moment, if you ask me, right? And then we have a big sharp correction, which is what could happen when Bitcoin reaches $10,000, right? We could reach the real kind of euphoria phase, and then have a huge kind of shock to the system and a humongous sell-off, right? I mean, this could be like, say if this was Bitcoin and that was $10,000, this sell-off will be all the way back down to like $5,000 or whatever, right? Huge sell-off, right? And then this bounce right here is like complacency, right? So complacency is like, you know, oh, you know, we just needed to sell off and then regain strength, you know, like people don't really want to believe that, oh, you know, that it's the beginning of a market correction, right? So that's what this phase is right here. And yeah, and then, you know, people that are complacent here, they end up becoming bag holders for most of the coins, you know, as the market just starts to plummet, and then people get anxious, they're in denial, they're, you know, and then they start panicking. These old people selling at a loss here, and then total market capitulation. I'm getting 100% out of the markets. I can't afford to lose anymore. And then people are angry, and then we have the depression phase right here when it's just consolidating at the bottom, right? And then it starts again. You see here, disbelief here is where we are right here, disbelief, right? So bearing that in mind, let's put this here. All right, how does this work? Okay, so bearing that in mind, guys, if we take a look at this market cycle here, you know, I mean, let's take a look at the 3-day chart here. You know, we can really kind of see similarities here, right, guys? I mean, we can really kind of, you know, start to kind of predict, all right, where are we in terms of the Ripple market cycle? Where are we? You know, to me, I mean, we're kind of like, we've had this sharp fall down here, and we're just still kind of, you know, this little bounce down here. Can you see this bounce here? We had this bounce and come up, and then bounce and down here. I mean, to me, we're kind of here, right? We've bounced and we've come down here, and people are just like, oh, you know, people are just kind of like just had enough of it, right? So we're really sold all the way down. I mean, if we look at some other coins, let's take a look at, my God, let's take a look at Digibyte. This is just nuts, you know, when you look at what Digibyte went through, and, you know, we can really see here the euphoria when people have just been pumping this to the skies, to the moon, right? We had this real euphoric look, so many people, but so much money coming up here, right? And then you know, we had this big sharp sell-off here. I mean, if we look at the percentage down, you know, we can see that sell-off here in like 1 day. That was like 1 day, right here. This day here was just like 1 day, or maybe 2 days. It was like 40% sell-off, right? And then we had that little bounce here, but this bounce here was complacency, right? If you look here on the left, let me zoom this. All right, so you can see complacency was right here. You can clearly see this was complacency, and then we had this big sharp sell-off here, yeah, and this was like complacency. This was all anxiety here, anxious. People are just like selling off. They're watching their profit go down the drain. They're going into a loss here. But we had this bounce here, and then people are in like denial, you know. Yeah, so people are basically in denial here. See this bounce back here? People are like, okay, well, it's gonna come back, you know. This can't be happening, you know. The market's gonna turn around here. You know, I've experienced this myself, guys, right? I'm sure, you know, most of you have, those of you who've been in crypto for a long time, right? So yeah, and then you know, we have this big sell-off here, and this is this whole kind of panic selling here. This is all, you know, this is all kind of panic here. We had this little bounce here, and now this is anger. This is all kind of anger and depression right here. Anger and depression selling right here. And I can see it with Digibyte. I've seen it myself, right? I'm not in this coin, but I've seen people's posts and what people are, you know, people are just like so angry that, you know, oh, Digibyte, they had such high hopes for this coin. And I'm not saying it's a bad coin, and I'm not saying that it's not going to turn around again. It probably will, right? Very soon, most likely, right? Within the next few months. But yeah, you just got to kind of see, where are we in the market cycle? Where are we in the grand scheme of things, in the whole kind of emotional market cycle? Because that's all it is at the end of the day, guys. It's just basically an emotional game, right? I mean, this was supposed to be like a technical analysis video for some of the altcoins, but really and truly, guys, I honestly do feel it's more important right now for most of you to kind of know where, you know, kind of understand the emotional market cycle more. Like if we look at Neo was a coin I was going to get into anyway, right? But all right, so let's look at Neo. Okay, so let's take this market cycle for Neo. All right, so we can clearly see, and let's take the 12-hour chart. Okay, so this is the okay, so this is the market cycle, and I'm gonna label where I personally think all the different what on earth is that? Anyway, I'm gonna label where I think everything is. So I'm gonna say this is disbelief, right? And I don't want it so big. I'm happy with this being around about 20. There you go. And let's make the color. I think no. Yeah, let's just stick with white, right? All right. So I'm gonna say this is disbelief, right? This zone right here. Okay. So where it starts to come up here. Can you see how this is disbelief right here? It's coming up here. So this zone right here is disbelief. Okay. Because what you got to understand is these people here, like, if they're still holding, then they've just been through this whole roller coaster. They've been through the previous roller coaster here of like a huge pump and like big sell-off, and then like complacency, and then anxiety and denial, panic, and then they've had a bit of like, this is a denial here, like pump here, denial, and then, you know, panic, anger, and depression. This whole phase here was depression, right? So these people here, when it's starting to look positive again, they're just kind of in disbelief. They don't want to believe it. They're like, yeah, whatever, you know, I've seen it all before, you know, You know, I don't think this is going to go anywhere, right? So that's where I think this belief is, right here. And where I think hope is right here. I think hope. In fact, let's make these slightly smaller, right? Because I just want to kind of make it clear to you guys, because it's just really, when you look at things simply, it's just not as complicated as you would think. You know, this area here is hope, right? And then optimism. Can you see how the next phase up, we've got kind of got optimism here. So I would say optimism is here, you know, because we're continuing to go up here. We're continuing to go up, right? So I'm just gonna put like optimism here, right? Hope, and optimism is just above hope, right? Just after optimism comes hope, and then belief is around about here. When we have this, you know, we've had this little sell-off here, and where the bounce of this little sell-off here is bouncing back above above the tops of this, right? So that would lead me to believe that this is like a belief zone. Now people are really believing that, okay, you know, right, we've had a sell-off, but the volume coming in here from the sell-off is pushing us above the previous highs, right? Okay, so that's a belief right there, right? And then what we have here is thrill. Okay, so the thrill, you know, the people that have been holding, they're like right here, they're like, oh my god, this is just crazy, loving it. You know, this is the thrill zone right here, right? This is the thrill zone right here. Okay, and then, you know, this isn't like an exact replica, but you know, it's pretty similar, right? And then anything above here, right at the top here, you see where these wicks are right here. This is where you don't want to be buying, right? Because this is euphoria. This is where there's no sense. There's no real sense being made here. Like with Bitcoin right now, I mean, if you ask me, like, you know, I had a friend contact me the other day via email, that some guy I used to know back in the days, you know, and you know, you'd never think, I mean, I'd never think that this dude or any of my old friends from school or whatever would kind of be into cryptocurrency or be looking into it or whatever, right? But I mean, with Bitcoin where it is right now, this is the whole thing about euphoria right here, is that, you know, at this phase, it's like the whole world is finding out. At this phase, the whole world thinks, oh man, this is like a get rich quick thing. This is like, you know, we're all going to become rich. You know, euphoria, I'm a genius, we're all going to be rich, right? So that's what it says there, right? So this is exactly it. In this zone right here is like, you know, my friends that I haven't heard from in like 15 years or whatever are contacting me now on email saying, oh, you know, I saw you on YouTube, you know, like, what is this cryptocurrency thing? Where, you know, are we all going to get rich or what, right? So this is right here, guys, when, you know, the public are like getting involved, and, you know, just people are just thinking, you know, just put money in and we're all going to be rich, right? These are all these people here, and this is the fools, right? These are where the fools are getting in, right? So that's euphoria, and really, you know, this is where you don't want to be buying. You don't want to be buying at thrill, really. You don't want to be buying at euphoria or thrill. But even in this zone here, thrill, you could buy and make some quick money, right? If you're very careful, right? But you know, euphoria is where the majority of people are getting in right here, guys. This is where the majority of people get in right here, in this zone right here. Yeah, that's where most of the volume comes in, typically, because you can see here on the volume chart, this is where the volume typically comes in. Yeah, so you can see if I move this all the way down, this is where the highest amount of volume is, right? So that's where most of the people are buying. And if you think of that, most of the people are buying here, then you can imagine that most of the people will be in loss on the way down. They'll be losing money. Most of these people that have been holding, eventually they're just selling it at a loss, right? Because they can't handle it anymore, right? They just can't handle seeing their balance go down more and more. But eventually what's going to happen is, this is a market cycle, guys, and a cycle means it all comes back around, right? So anyway, so what happened here, guys, is we had this big sell-off here. Can you see how this sell-off here resembles this sell-off here on the image? It's very, very, very similar. In fact, it's very similar to this picture here, right? So that would lead me to believe that complacency is most definitely here. Right? So there's complacency right here. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Because after this sell-off here, people are like, Neo, this is Neo coin, right? So we believe in Neo. Neo is the project. It's like the next Ethereum, the Chinese Ethereum, whatever it is. And that it's just, people just don't want to, they don't want to believe that, it's the end of the pump. It's the end of the bull phase, right? So people that are complacent here, which is most people, they are complacent because people just think they don't think of the things that can go wrong. They just think that the money that they can make, right? So people buying here at this point here, they're just like, no, like it's gonna go back up and I'm gonna make a ton of money, which is wrong, because what happened here is it started to go down again. Right? And this is where the anxiety kicked in, because right here, boom, is anxiety. All right? Because we're not like that angry yet. We're not that, we're not that pissed off, or, because at the end of the day, people that bought here are still in profit here, right? But they're just starting to get a bit anxious, right? People that bought here, they're still like breaking even here, right? People that bought a thrill phase are still kind of breaking even here. People in euphoria might be angry here, but most of the people are just kind of in general at the anxiety phase here, Okay, and then what happens? We have a big sell-off and a little bounce back here, which is right here. Yeah, and this is where people are in denial. They just can't believe it's happening. They just can't believe that, it can't. I mean, people had so much belief in this coin and stuff like that. Most people, they just cannot believe that this stuff is happening. They don't want to accept it, right? And then what happens is the whole panic sell. I mean, it's textbook, guys. You see this panic sell here? It's right here. It's right here. So this is the whole panic. This was the panic here. To me, it's clear as day. Boom. Panic. Right here. Okay. So after the panic, we have a little bounce here. So we could see this panic, and then we had a bounce here. Yeah. So after the bounce right here, we had the bounce where people, are hoping that it's going to go up more, but it just sold all the way back down again, right? So this is where people are starting to get a bit angry. Right here. Yeah, this is where people are starting to get angry here. I'll say anger is right here. Okay. Anger is right here. Okay. And then can you see how from anger we have this bounce back up and then a sell back down to below anger. So we've had this bounce back up and this sell back down to below anger right here. So this right here is a depression phase for me personally. And this is Neo I'm doing this example on, right? So right here we could say depression, right? This is against Bitcoin, guys, okay? So this is against Bitcoin, okay? So I mean, if you want, I can leave a link to this. If you want a link to this, I'll leave a link to this below the video to make it clearer for you guys, right? So so yeah, I would say we're pretty much in the depression phase right now with Neo. Let me see. When my retirement is lost, how can I pay off all this new stuff? Okay, don't worry. You can pay off all this new stuff. Just hold on to that coin, hodl, right? So this is where I believe we are with Neo. We've had this kind of bounce down, and we're below this anger phase here. Obviously, it depends on Bitcoin, how Bitcoin reacts. But yeah, I mean, yeah, after the depression phase, guys, the next phase after depression is disbelief. So we need to now just this depression phase right here, guys. Another thing, it could last a long time. We could really, you know, depression can last a long time. If we look at Ripple, let's just look at Ripple quickly as an example. Actually, let's quickly look at 1 second. Let me make this bigger. All right, let's look at Neo on a. Okay, so you can see here the depression phase here lasted quite a long time here with Neo, right? And if we look at Ripple as well, I mean, I remember looking at Ripple back in the days when I mean, this was just a few months ago, right? But we were looking at Ripple like this here, right? And to me, the depression phase is the longest, guys. Right here, you can see how long it is here compared to all these other phases here. The depression phase is quite long. It's quite long, right? Even if we look at Bitcoin, let's look at Bitcoin, BTC, USD. I want to look at the Bitstamp chart. All right, so let's look at the 1 day chart here, and let's take a look at some of the old market cycles. All right, so okay, so look at this. I'm not going to label out all the phases here, but look at this. We had this massive cycle here, and we had all these phases down. But look at how long this this depression phase right here was. It's quite long, right? I mean, it's almost as long as this entire last part of the cycle. So if we take that into account, guys, right, we could basically, let's take a look at Neo quickly. All right, so in all honesty, guys, I wouldn't be surprised if we let's say, for example, what was it, day range. All right, I wouldn't be surprised if the depression phase itself lasted like this, came all the way out into like February 2018. I mean, I'm not saying it will, right? But I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised, right? Because that would be healthy, guys. That would really give a lot of time, you know. If we take a look at the log chart as well, guys. Get rid of that. I just want to see something on the log chart here, guys. Yeah. Because, all right, so yeah, I mean, I honestly do feel, you know, we could be looking into like middle of January, you know, beginning of the year at least, before we start to see Neo really kind of pick up again and start a new like whole new market cycle again, right? Because that's what it's all about, guys. We want to kind of we want to basically hold on, guys. How does this work? Sorry, guys, I'm not very good with this. There you go. So yeah, we want to basically start this market cycle. We want to start to go from disbelief to hope. Once we start to feel that we've you know, we've reached the disbelief phase here, like at the moment we're in depression, and then I would say by round about here we should be starting to see disbelief. Let's say around about here towards the end of the year. So round about here, just for argument's sake, let's put this disbelief in and around here. We can expect to see something in and around here towards the end of the year, right? And that correlates with, on the log chart, this line here I drew, the downward resistance line was the downward resistance on the log chart, looking at the percentages, right? So that's it, guys. So yeah, that's me now for the coins. Before I let you guys go, let's take a quick look at NEO versus the dollar. All right, get rid of that, don't need that anymore. So as you can see, versus the dollar, guys, it's very, very different to what we were looking at against Bitcoin. I mean, that whole market cycle against Bitcoin that we just labeled, it's very, very, very different against the dollar, right? So against the dollar, we're maintaining this zone here. I mean, admittedly, it's not, you know, it's not great. We're not, you know, we're not towards the high 30s or anything, but we're in and around the 26, 27, $25 range. We could go lower, but really and truly, once we start performing against Bitcoin, especially considering Bitcoin is a lot more expensive than, you know, what it was when we started this market cycle, then we could easily start to see NEO, you know, reach new all-time highs. But we need to really start seeing that bullish movement come in, and you know, it's just about patience, guys. Those of you who are holding, I would just hold. I would really just hold. You know, if you can, you know, pick up some more. I really do like NEO, you know, especially at those prices against Bitcoin, right? So cool stuff. Yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there for now, guys. It's been a bit of a long video, so I know most of you guys don't like long videos, so gonna cut it there now, guys, and I hope that helps. Let me know in the comments. I know there's a lot of coins I probably missed out that, you know, you guys didn't, you know, want me to cover. Maybe some of you want me to cover Dash, Litecoin, you know, IOTA, Qtum, OMG. You know, it's a very popular coin. There's Zcash. You know, there's so many coins, guys. It's kind of, well, it's not impossible, but it's very difficult to cover everything right in one video. But let me know in the comments what you want me to take a look at, and what your thoughts are on the whole market cycle, you know, where we are on the market cycle. Maybe drop a link to some of your charts. It will be interesting to see what charts you guys are drawing there, and yeah, anyway, so that's it for now, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.